Hello guys, what's going on? This is Word here with another Heart of the Swarm series, this time a best of 3 from the good Heart of the Swarm Invitational spawning in the lower left of Newkirk District. The Terran player for Evil Genius's raid call, he is DeMusliM, and his opponent, the much-loved and feared Protoss. He is on Team Grubby, and he is Grubby. Playing blue on the opposite side of Newkirk District. If you're not familiar with this map, it is a 2-player map. Probably one of the most symmetrical maps out there, split exactly down the middle. Of course, all maps are symmetrical, so exactly what I'm saying and what I mean, I'm not sure, but it looks more symmetrical to me than other maps. So this is from the good Invitational, guys. There are a few other VODs out there detailing some of the matchups, but I could not quite find the VOD for this one, so I figured it needed one. There's Grubby versus Beastie Cutie, and Grubby versus TLO, and I think a couple more out there. But of course, this is a Heart of the Swarm match. I've pretty much switched over to only Heart of the Swarm content, so I hope you guys are okay with that. We're going to be here in Newkirk District, which is one of the newer maps and is relatively large. It's very easy to get to 3 base. Of course, there's certain pressures that players can do in the beginning that rule stuff out. Terran, of course, the earliest, newest thing they'll do is the Hellbat drop, whereas Protoss, they can do much earlier pressure that didn't used to be so scary. Move out with 1 Zealot and a Stalker, or maybe a second Stalker, and it's a little bit annoying, but Terrans can usually hold it off. Now with the addition of the Mothership Core, it can actually be quite a challenge, and you could end up losing a lot of SCVs, especially if you go directly into Factory like we're seeing a lot of Terrans do. So we'll see if that sort of thing comes into play. Most good Protoss players have been doing it, so it wouldn't surprise me at all to see it from Grubby. Right now, we do have DeMusliM opening with the barracks, and Heart of the Swarm is still a very macro-focused game. We see Grubby is actually going for Nexus first here, and considering how big Newkirk District is, that is not bad at all. And especially with that added Mothership Core for defense, you can defend things quite a bit easier. You do have to worry about certain things Terran might do, though. If, for instance, when DeMusliM comes up here and scouts this, there's a possibility he might just go ahead and cancel any command center he's building, drop like 4 more racks, and go all in with SCVs. Some Terrans will respond like that. Or he can try to out-macro his opponent. Grubby is going to be laying down... Ooh, he's actually laying down a Forge. That is so cool. So he's going to be getting cannons here. The exact sort of thing you need to defend Marines and SCVs. Those are very weak against cannons, of course, only needing a few shots before they go down. So a couple of cannons, coupled with whatever SCVs you managed, or sorry, not SCVs, units you manage to get out, are usually pretty good at deflecting that sort of all in. So this is actually super fun, and this is a strategy I might try out myself after this game. But Grubby is going for an FFE, not unheard of in PvT, but the first time I've seen it in Heart of the Swarm, so we'll see how it's going to work out. It shouldn't affect too much. It's not too different in the early game, like I was saying before with Terran. We see DeMusliM dropping his 2 refineries immediately after his command center, so he is going to be going directly into Factory, very likely. We do have a single cannon up here for Grubby. And actually, has he scouted at all? The answer is no. And I was going to say, based on his scouting, he can choose to drop 1 or 2 more cannons. He's actually not scouting, period. So he feels very confident that DeMusliM is not going to all-in him, because 1 cannon really is not going to hold off some kind of crazy 1-base all-in off of a Terran. But with proper scouting, you can get another cannon or 2 up, because the rush distance is quite large. But, ooh, he is going to come in here. Is he going to be able to see the command center? He does get chased away by the Marines, so he's not going to get a confirmation on that yet. Right now, the SCV, of course, has scouted the Forge, so he knows exactly what Grubby's up to, has seen the cannon at the front as well. DeMusliM is going directly into the factory and actually getting a reactor, so are we going to see some Hellions coming out of this factory? The possibility is there, and of course, we do have to worry about those Hellbat drops. Of course, this is post-patch, so only 2 Hellbats will fit into a medevac. Something we should consider. Looks like saturation-wise, we got 27 workers for the Grubster and 22 for the British Terran DeMusliM. Just macroing up right now. I'm really curious to see what DeMusliM is going to go off of this factory. You can go Widow Mines, Hellions, or Hellbats once you get that armory. And that will dictate the pace of the game quite a bit. Grubby is now adding his second gas. We see the Mothership Core has come out, accompanied by a very loud noise. And Grubby is actually just flying it right over, so there's a possibility he's going to be just air harassing. And actually, DeMusliM's putting his starport over on this edge of the base, so Grubby's probably going to scout that with the Mothership Core, maybe even be able to pick off the SCV building it. And Mothership Cores don't outrange Marines. I think they have 5 range. Okay, and so do Marines, so even if he sits on the edge and shoots at something, the Marine will be able to hit him. So it's not going to be able to be that sneaky. Will be a bit annoying, and of course the scout coming off directly is going to be nice. And it looks like it is going to be a Hellion drop here. No, Hellbat drop, as a matter of fact. We do have the armory in production for DeMusliM. Man, do I love that. Clicking on the tab and having the thing just appear on the screen. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And Grubby's actually going to scout this. So he actually sees the tech lab building on the barracks too, which is indicative of it getting switched over to the Starport later. so there's a possibility that DeMusliM will be going into Banshees. Mothership Core going to be doing a little bit of damage, but you got to be so careful. It is very flimsy. It is like the Warp Prism of old, and it will go down quite quickly to just a few Marines. We actually have a second cannon coming up here. Grubby worried about that incoming Hellbat drop. Seeing a starport that quickly, it's very likely that's what's going to happen. And DeMusliM is making, okay, he's making a lot of Hellions, so he's going to be going for a two-pronger here. Medevac, okay, no, it looks like he might actually just elevator these into the main. I thought maybe he would go in the front with a couple Hellions and then move in the side, drop Hellbats. Grubby's going to be very prepared for both of those. It looks like they do manage to pick off that Zealot at the tower, so Grubby does know that these Hellions are incoming. Doesn't have a lot of units himself. We do have two Hellions loaded up, or two Hellbats loaded up in the medevac. It's going to be a split, 4 Hellions going in the front. This is very dangerous. DeMusliM could do a lot of damage with this. Grubby has to micro perfectly. He's got quite a few units at the front. 4 Hellions can slip by and do a lot of damage, though. Grubby does see the medevac. He's going to start poking away at it. DeMusliM uses those afterburners. Meanwhile, the Hellions trying to get in here, and Grubby tries to wall it off the pylon. Still very nice. Manages to kill 3 workers for 4 Hellions. Not the best trade. Now, if this drop can get in here and do some damage, that will be good for DeMusliM. But considering how much damage has been done to the medevac, it is more and more unlikely. Behind this, he is adding on a couple of barracks, so he's actually going into full-on bio play, continuing to produce medevacs. Looks like he actually is using this tech lab for stim. I thought he would trade it over to the starport because it's a little bit of an unusual placement for it. Makes it kind of very vulnerable to really anything, especially something like an Oracle. But it's going to be fine. Phoenix here to chase away the medevac. Is it going to go down? One more shot. Medevac does go down. Oh, those physics, so beautiful. 2 Hellbats do escape, and he drops them down to Hellion mode and runs them away. Very nice. And looks like we did have the Purify go on the Nexus there. Photon Overcharge, I should say, to ward away further Hellions. Grubby taking a 3rd Nexus. DeMusliM, does he have a 3rd command center in production? No. Take a look at the Structures tab. We see he's only got one. Oh, hold on. Hold on. We should have a 3rd command center somewhere. If I'm taking a look at this right, if I'm taking a look at it properly, he just morphed it into, oh, there it is. Okay, I'm completely blind. That's okay. Grubby coming in here with a couple of Phoenixes, going to pick off the SCV, building an additional barracks. This is an important scout for Grubby because he knows his opponent is going to be going into bio play, sees the reactor on the starport. A lot of Terrans have been going back. It's something you really have to scout for in the olden days in PvT, or what I should say the current days, because, I mean, there's still a couple of Wings of Liberty tournaments going out there. You always assume that your opponent is going bio in TVP, and 99.9% of the time you would be right. In this case, though, we're seeing a lot more Phoenixes in this matchup, and that's particularly good to ward away those very fast medevacs. Even with Blink, they are just so hard to deny, so we're going to see Grubby put these in a position to deny drops. DeMusliM going to be moving out here. Of course, he still has these couple of Hellions with the army. Hellbats make a great addition to your Bioforce. They can tank a lot of damage, and of course, since Zealots are generally what you do against a heavy amount of Bio, Zealots force fields with those Guardian Shields, the Hellbats do amazing damage, so there's no reason not to have a Biomech composition where you mix in Widow Mines or Hellbats and just have a really strong army. It looks like DeMusliM is going to get his 3rd up as well. If we take a look at the harvester count, 56 to 55, these guys are dead even. Phoenix is going to try to get some pot shots off on these medevacs. A nice stim there by DeMusliM. Almost manages to pick one of these off. Very good micro. Grubby is going to have to sit back and defend his 3rd, getting another Photon Cannon up. Phoenixes have been brought back to the army, and of course, Grubby does have the ability to cast Photon Overcharge on his Nexus, so he can have added defensive abilities. The thing about Newkirk District is, especially with Grubby's composition, you want those Phoenixes with your army for just that little bit of extra damage to ward away the medevacs, but you've also got to make sure there's so much airspace here, there's so many places for a Terran to come in. You need those Phoenixes covering that ground. DeMusliM is going to be pushing in now. He has a superior army supply. He's got 1-1 finish. This is a good timing for him with these Hellbats mixed in. We've got the Photon Overcharge on the Nexus. It looks like the force field's not going to keep too many units away. DeMusliM can just walk around them, but Grubby going to warp in a few more Zealots. It's actually a pretty scary push, but with the benefit of that Mothership Core, it looks like, oh, Hellbat, oh my god, he just writhes when he is getting picked up. He has been taken out. So good defense there by Grubby, zoning out a lot of those units with those force fields. And it looks like the Phoenixes are going to try to get a nice scout off, have a little mat presence, going to pick off a Marine, and, you know, with the added range on Phoenix, they did get a range boost from 4 to 5. Oh, Grubby not watching his Phoenixes lose 2 of them immediately. I was going to say it's a lot easier to pick up Marines on the outskirts of army and get away with things like that, but oh my goodness, it was taken out. Really cool way for the Zealots to die. I haven't seen that a whole lot. And Grubby going to be coming in. DeMusliM doing some good damage. Just a heavy Marine count here. Ooh, we actually have a couple Archons morphing in for Grubby. That should be enough to scare away this army, but they can't get focused down very quickly if he's not careful. Loses 1 Archon, might lose the 2nd, but no, DeMusliM not going to take the bait. Now, Grubby has a lot of gateways. His Templar Archive's done. That means, of course, he's going to be able to warp in those Archons. Does he have Storm on the way? Does he have that research? If we take a look, the answer is no. I was getting so excited watching this battle that I wasn't watching the production tab. There we do have the Storm getting underway, warping in some Templar. DeMusliM really keeping the pressure on, though, making sure that Grubby has to keep warping in units. He's slowly gaining supply lead, too. Grubby has lost quite a bit more than his opponent. The upgrades right now, 1-1 for the Terran, but 2-2 for Grubby, and that is a huge upgrade advantage. It's going to be a little while before DeMuslim's 2-2 is complete. His armor considerably behind, but the army supply is really benefiting him. The cannon's going to be immediately taken out. The Archon's trying to come in here and deal some good damage. These Archons with level 2 weapon upgrades are wrecking that bio. Of course, the armor upgrade not going to help them very much. Grubby, he's got a lot of minerals and a lot of gateways. Can't quite warp in units fast enough. Definitely wants those Zealots to tank. With that extra armor boost, he will be good. But he doesn't. Does he have a Guardian Shield? It's just the 1 sentry here, so looks like no. And not having that is a bit of a pain. You really want that Guardian Shield for that extra added armor boost to your Zealots to make that 2-2 even better. Grubby does have 3-3 on the way. Storm going to be finishing soon. What is the Templar count? It is only at 1. Of course, he was forced to morph those into Archons with that attack coming. DeMusliM keeping this pressure on so good by him. He knows how much he's slowing down his opponent. He hasn't seen Colossi yet, so he knows he's delayed the Storm production by seeing those Archons on the map. So he knows he's got this window. However, with Storm done now, I don't think he's seen the Templar on the field. Grubby, he's got the 1 Templar. I'm not actually sure where it is. How about I click on it, then I can find it. No, is that not how it works on there? Oh, no, okay, it looks like it's mixed in with the army. A Templar is going to have 1 Storm. DeMusliM spreading so well. It's going to be very tough for Grubby to land it. In fact, he has such a good concave, too. Grubby, he does not have charge on these Zealots, so he's not going to be able to get up in there. Where's the Storm going on? He can't find a good spot. Actually hits a good portion of the bio. Grubby coming in with what he's got left, but look at DeMuslim's supply. Look at the sick concave that the Terran has. The heavy-hitting units, Templar, Archons have been eliminated, and when it's just left with Stalkers against bio, it is usually the Terran who's going to win that battle. Quite a few units back here for DeMusliM as well, and at the very least he's going to be able to take out this third, but I think he's just going to be able to win the game here, doubling the supply of Grubby. His army supply is like 10 times his opponent, maybe more closer to 8, and I think this is going to have to be it for the Protoss player. DeMusliM with the constant pressure with the bio, just continuing to come up with his good production. And Grubby really didn't have an answer for it. He was going for Templar tech. His Storm was delayed for those Archons. DeMusliM fought in really good spots. The Nexus getting focused down. The Archon immediately dies. Grubby just does not have a lot left, and that is GG for him. DeMusliM going to take this game, the first in the best of 3. We're going to be moving over to Game 2 right now with DeMusliM up 1-0.